The only two times they get things right is when they want to lock people down or ravish your rectum.
Yes.
Like, these aren't coincidences.
What she just said.
Yeah.
Welcome to another episode of American Contrarian. I'm your host, James Gilbert, and this week we'll be discussing the loss of democracy in Canada as Justin Trudeau announced martial law with his emergency powers. Also, we'll be watching a video from the Steve Pierce show, and I'll be discussing my thoughts on it live. Ukraine is just a distraction. That doesn't mean that we won't go to war for a distraction. But let's get into this video here.
In 2010, which planned to start sex ed with 6-year-olds. And with
12-year-olds being taught explicitly about gay sex and similar topics. Now, that curriculum didn't pass, but most of what Levin wanted to teach got added in 2015 after he was arrested. Now, this kind of quasi-pornographic curriculum is now being spread all over the world. Last August, Trudeau's government hosted its first drag queen competition for public employees. In 2016, Trudeau's government lowered the age of consent for anal sex. Besides Trudeau, Sandy says that the just ousted Ottawa chief of police, Peter Slally, is linked to sex crimes as well from his days as a UN peacekeeper in Kosovo. According to Amnesty International, young girls were kidnapped and forced into prostitution in that country, and UN and NATO personnel were some of the leading customers. Now, Sandy theorizes that he was chief of police in Ottawa specifically to protect the prime minister from these crimes. The coincidences, Sandy argues, are just too creepy and too weird. Child sex trafficking, she says, is a state-run business in Canada, and Sandy Glaze joins us now. So you're saying Justin Trudeau is running a child sex trafficking ring in Canada?
When you talk about Justin Trudeau, I think it's pedophilia is run by the Prime Minister's office. He just happens to be the one in power right now. But he's the one pushing the agenda because he's more queer than the last Prime Minister we had, who's also gay, Stephen Harper. And this is common knowledge. So when I talk about what's happening in Ontario, I also included some things from universities. I gave you newspaper articles where they're pro-rape chanting minors at the University of British Columbia. This is all through the systems, through the universities, any institution. So the victims are in the public school. The perpetrators are groomed in the universities. That same year, 2013, there were pro-rape chanting minors in the University of Halifax. This is during Frost Week. Frost Week is promoted to be around the week of September 11th. We know what September 11th is. It's a day that they charge energy and create havoc, as they did in 2001 with the Twin Towers. So what they're doing is they're trying to get the children, the students, in Frost Week to decide which ones are the pedophiles. When they pro-rape chant minors, they watch to see whose eyes light up, who's into it and who's not. So it's nothing about IQ in the universities. This is about psychopathy, who the psychopaths are, and who's not smart enough to figure this out. This last September at the University of Western Ontario, down the road in London, they said 30 girls were drugged and raped. In the newspapers, Globe and Mail, I think the Toronto Star said, Frost Week starts on the 6th, but ends on the Sunday. Notice they didn't say ends on the 12th, because we would have figured out it happened on the 11th. So we start seeing this. So that was a sex sacrifice. These are virgin sacrifices in Frost Week. Our system, it's all pedophilic to the core.
So, I mean, I believe that. I believe that there is a pedophilia global cabal hell-bent on the destruction of Christianity and the innocence of children. I believe that 100%, and I know it to be true. What you are alleging specifically, do you have any proof of any of this?
So I went to Ben Levin's trial. It was a 4-day trial. The person who is his defense attorney is Clayton Ruby, who is the head of the Law Society of Upper Canada in Ontario. He said in some countries it's legal to have sex with children. That's what he told the judge. So we have proof of this. When you look at do I have proof of this, she didn't even come out. The judge didn't even come out, and I don't think she gave transcripts for what transpired in that courtroom. She came out with a summary for her reasons. I'm trying to see if I have it here, of why she made the 2.5-year sentencing, why she went with that. But when you look at the front of it, there's no file number on it. So when I'm talking about these universities, Ben Levin worked at the University of Toronto. OISE, which is the Ontario Institute of Education, at the University of Toronto. I included a newspaper article of a man named James Cantor from CAMH. CAMH works at the University of Toronto. It's located. I'm saying our universities are pedophilic and they're sex offenders, and they're putting them in training. Because what has happened in November 10th of 2010,
University of Western Ontario. I'm going to introduce one of your pedophiles in what do you call it? Like in
You notice at the same time that all this is happening is same thing is happening within our Olympic athletes, our college athletes. I mean, it's not a surprise that professors are likely going to be men interested in fucking younger women, and I don't really have as much of an issue with that as a lot of people do, as long as it's all consensual. But it's not just the professors. Clearly, when you see these gymnastics teams where these girls are 12, 13. Okay.
This program.
They created a report confronting the many cases of child sex abuse, developing a comprehensive national strategy. I pulled this off their website. They put all their names on it. What they say is nobody over 35 is a sex offender in the school system. Like, how much proof do I need?
Yeah. I mean, the evidence is clear here in the United States. I mean, we have teachers that are normalizing the sexualization of children and teaching them that they shouldn't like being a boy and that they should want to be a girl. I mean, it's absolutely sick that this is allowed to take place, and anybody that finds out that it's going on in their school district should absolutely deal with it by any means necessary.
It is every school district. It's every school district. They rolled this LBGT, LMNOP program out almost as fast as they did the COVID lockdowns.
The only two times they get things right is when they want to lock people down or rather
This.
direct them.
Yes.
Like, these aren't coincidences.
What she just said.
Yeah, I mean, I
So
don't
when you
think I
talked
agree.
The
about
only
Margaret,
times
Margaret
they get
Trudeau, Margaret
anything
Trudeau.
right are when they want to lock us down or ravage our rectums. And she's absolutely right. The system never takes care of people because the system isn't there for the benefit of the people. The system has always been and continues to be there for the benefit of the elite. Communism doesn't change that in any way. As much as it preaches to be the, oh yes, this is the system of the working man. No, it's the system of the leader of the working man.
She supposedly went to McGill University. McGill University is known for MK Ultra. You familiar with the MK Ultra program, the mind control?
Yes, of course. Not deeply. I don't have a deep knowledge of it, but I definitely know what its premise is.
And they use hypnotism to make the victims forget what happened. So that incident on September 11th down at the University of Western Ontario, they have a Center for Research on Violence Against Women and Children. They weren't mentioned in any of the articles. But what they said was these girls were drugged. Well, if they were drugged, they're not going to remember. So MK Ultra, when you look at McGill University, they're being sued right now. What is it called? The Allen Memorial, because they were all sexually abused in that university. And now they've all come back as adults and there's a class action lawsuit.
So Trudeau knows about this and is allowing this to go on, actually wants it to go on. Do you believe that he's participating in this activity as well?
So Trudeau is in place because he is one of them. And I don't give a shit what happened to Justin Trudeau as a child. A lot of people say, well, they're born into it and they were hurt as children. It was wrong then or it's wrong now. They don't get both, right? So it's interesting when you, have you seen the female operatives in high places? It's a list created by Field McConnell. And he goes around and talks about all the women in the Western world who are the handlers. It's supposed that Stephen Harper's wife, Rena's on that list. She's a handler. But I went through out of curiosity to see how many of these 94 women had connections to Canada. And I think I got 39 women had connections to Canada. And you know what they're all connected to? 39 of 92 had connections to Canada. So some of them are like Liz Cheney. So there's Jane Fonda. There's Americans in this list. So when I looked at this, why did I categorize it this way? I don't know. Categorize it. Pedophilia. 20 of them are tied to pedophilia. LBGT, 14. Picton Pig Farm, 8. And I've got somebody I want you to talk to if you want to. He says Trudeau's connected to the Picton Pig Farm. It's amazing how connected this is. You know what that is, right?
Yeah. It doesn't surprise me, and I just was talking with John Schneider a few minutes ago, and he's going to be on the air here with me coming up, and I brought this up because Hollywood is infested with this. Schools are infested with this. All of the things that kids are attracted to. Disney. The Nickelodeon. I mean, we did a special on Nickelodeon. This is going back a year ago now. One of the first things that we focused on was the pedophilia symbols that are being projected right out in front of the wide open to our children. So it doesn't surprise me that the people at the top are involved in organizing this. You're alleging specifically that cops are installed specifically to protect the people from this, and that doesn't surprise me either. So it pisses me off, just like it should you and everybody else. What does the average person do about this that wants to do something to stop this?
You can't. If you go to any of the higher ups in your own
You can't.
community,
This is just going to go on forever.
You can't.
Okay.
No, I'm not saying that. We out them just doing exactly what we're talking about. This fellow that I want you to meet, he's gone into the local towns, and you know when you drive into a town, it says welcome to. He says there's pedophilia swirls, like two-tone paint in the signs. So the people who come into the towns know whether that town supports pedophilia or not. We got to wake ourselves up because the people in charge aren't going to tell us what's going on. You had Allie Carter on. I was almost like epileptic, nodding my head to everything she said about the school systems. I was working with a mother who recently, the Children's Aid Society basically stole her daughter. I submitted a tape on a Thursday night. There was supposed to be a motion on the Monday. We've got all this recorded, affidavits, everything. So the Monday the woman went to court. The Children's Aid Society never even told the judge that they had got a recording saying the girl was saying that she was being touched and hurt by her father. So then the mother comes out. We've got this, Stu. We've got this nailed down. But people don't care anymore. They're willing to give up their lives if they have to. They've got nothing to lose.
Well, they're demonic. They're Satan-worshipping demonic people that want to mutilate our children.
So the second day though, when the Children's Aid Society lawyer comes out of the courtroom, the mother comes out, she's distressed. The Children's Aid Society lawyer comes out, goes like this. I thought she was crying. She was laughing at us because they got the daughter with the father. The girl went from school in the morning from the mother's house, went straight to the father's house, and the mother could never have anything but supervised access. The whole system is like this. These honeys need to be taken out. It's only a job for them, but it's personal to the families they destroy. So I'm trying to say this with as much passion as I can, that people understand the whole system is designed to grab your children. It's estimated 60,000 children disappear in Canada every year. You take 60,000, divided by 365 days, divided by 24 hours a day, by 60 minutes, every minute a child disappears. Where's the Amber Alerts? We don't know that children are missing because it's all done legally. So we have to understand the game that is being played through the universities. I've got these little pedophiles. They're all that work at the universities, and some people might say I'm homophobe. No, when you have to lie to try to get a child to have sex with you, it is pretty sick. So this is off Ben Levin's website, so engaging students through effective questions. Why do we use the same word love to describe what it feels for family members and also to describe romantic feelings? That's one of his questions. The next one, if you're alone in the house and the phone was disconnected and a robber was coming, what would you do? So he's grooming the pedophiles with this, saying this is what you ask them, so if they take off when you advance on them, you know they're under the bed. This is going to torture them. Our pedophiles aren't smart, but they're clever. So we had a report, Kathleen Wynn's report, it's never okay. She reported, this is the last premier who brought in the sex ed curriculum. It's estimated that 10% of sexual assaults in Canada reported. Out of every 1,000, we get 3 convictions. That's a 0.3% conviction rate. You double that number, you've got 0.6, half a percent conviction rate. Do we really think our course is stupid? I've got curriculums from the Law Society that they don't talk about this. Doug Ford, 2 years ago, brought in about the beer policy in Frosh Street. And the same year, Nancy Spies, who was an Ontario judge, announced that it was okay to use extreme intoxication as a justification for sexual assault, that she would allow that case back in. Are we going to assume all these people are just really stupid? And as soon as we understand the intention of all of these people is not to help us, they're here to get whatever they need, but they need victims for this sick society to work. Like I said, Slawley got $369,000. That's a third of $1 million. He's connected to sexual assaults in Ottawa. They've got, 10 of them when you read that one article, so that's not my material, but there's like 10 people that have come out and said there was assault or sexual assault by the police. We can't be this naive anymore. So most of us have good hearts, but we're nice, but nice doesn't cut it for the children. So another woman just came out and said Children's Aid Society took her daughter's 2-month-old. She's a single mom. What course does she have? Another one's come out and said in Halifax, the judge gave 2 daughters to the husband for custody, but she said he has a record of drug trafficking and pimping.
Yeah, I'm not here willing to accept the fact that this is not stoppable and that this is just going to go on
It is
forever.
totally stoppable,
Yeah.
but it's us. It's us, and we're going to talk about this. So Justin Trudeau, why don't we come up and say, Justin, have you ever had sex with children? Why don't we just point blank start asking them because we don't want to offend anybody.
Yeah, I would
Well,
love
they
for
sure don't
him
mind
to come and be
offending
on this program. I would have him in a heartbeat. We've actually sent multiple invites to Justin Trudeau to come on the program and talk with us. Of course he won't, because he's going to get asked the real questions. That's why half of Hollywood won't come on this program, and a lot of so-called elected representatives from the United States government won't be here either, because they know they're going to get the difficult questions. I've got 1 minute left. Because
So there's a gentleman in Lindsay Prison. His name is Guy Brummel. He goes by Agent Margaritaville. Family and Children Services stole his daughter. He's got evidence that he submitted to the USMCA, proving all the stuff about Trudeau and pedophilia and all this. They've thrown him in the nut house and thrown him in jail because he has the belief that Trudeau's a pedophile. He's got mental illness.
Yeah,
Like this whole system is
absolutely
messed up.
They'll weaponize the system against anybody that brings the allegations. They'll gaslight. They'll make you look like you're crazy. They do it to victims constantly. They do it to anybody that suspects them. You're just a crazy lunatic. Just like we were crazy lunatics when we said that these inoculations would be forced on the entire planet and that you'd have to prove that you had one before you could go buy an apple. Guess what? That's coming to fruition as well. None of this stuff is conspiracy. None of it is conspiracy. This is all very real. But I refuse to accept the fact that these evil people are going to continue to hurt our children without any accountability. We will hold them accountable. There's accountability coming for these people in Jesus' name. Sandy Glaze, you can find more from her at endingglobaloneliness.com. Thank you so much for being here. We'll have you back again soon.
Thank you. Take good care.
Without the Second Amendment, the rest of the Constitution is just a piece of paper. The tyrannical government has guns, and as their corrupt, bought and paid for narrative falls apart, they'll be more tempted to turn them on us. But don't worry, you're not alone, patriots. Buy a gun today from GunsAmerica.com, America's oldest and most trusted online platform for buying and selling the guns that keep your loved ones safe. Join the millions of gun buyers who shop there monthly. Private sellers and gun dealers. List your sales for free. No fees for transactions within 50 miles. Selling fees half the cost of auction sites. When you sell...
Connected to sexual assaults in Ottawa. They've got, 10 of them when you read that one article, so that's not my material, but there's like 10 people.
The gist is that Justin Trudeau is probably not a pedophile. He might be. I mean, this woman seems to think that he could be. But more importantly, he's protecting people who certainly are. And the same thing happens here. Institutional power is protected, period. Whatever the fuck they want to do. And for some reason, they seem to want to fuck a lot of kids. Whether it be the Catholic Church, politicians, in America, Canada, India, England, doesn't matter. It's just, fucking a child is the ultimate demonstration of power and perversion. And when you have all the power, you have the opportunity to indulge every perversion. And when we live in a society that is constantly telling everyone to indulge all their perversions, where do you think it comes from? It's a top-down message. And sure, they are saying now not to act on your desires for pedophilia. But how long do you think that's going to last? How long till that's just another thing that you're born with, that you can't help. Because I gotta say, I think that whole, it's not that I think. Show me a single prison in the U.S. that nobody comes out of gay, that went in straight. Doesn't exist. You know why? Because you're not born gay. Somebody sucking your dick feels pretty good. It doesn't matter much who it is, and you can find something to get off on about it, no matter who you are. So, I mean, why do you think there was in fucking not Mount Olympus, the Greek city that got buried in lava after a volcano erupted? I can't remember the name right now. But why do you think there was graffiti all over it saying, "Sorry ladies, I like bums now"? I mean, I'm not saying that was God punishing them, but yeah, it's society to society when it's cultural. Within the black community, I'm pretty sure about this, a lot of black men who are gay just decide to be gangsters because then they're going to go to prison where they're not going to be judged for it. And they fuck women when they're outside too, in the same sort of way. It's like a power dynamic mostly. Just bitches. Just like fuck dudes, just bitches. Fuck women, they just bitches. And that's why it's easy to pimp anybody out. They're not people and you don't respect them. I've never been to prison, by the way. Just to clarify.